Solana in the last week since I made this video has done nearly 70% towards the upside. Will we continue to see Solana growing? If so, how much higher? And what has been causing this pump? Because it's probably gonna shock you. So in more recent weeks, we've seen Solana having an absolute shocker as people offload the Solana because of the fear of the connection between FTX and Solana. And right now we're seeing Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX going through court, which doesn't really have too much impact on the overall Solana price. But what is really causing the Solana price right now could well be this, okay? It's the new Shiba Inu type token called a Bonk token, which is the first meme coin of its kind on the Solana blockchain, which has meant that a ton of liquidity has flowed into the Solana blockchain. Bonk token goes bonkers as traders chase after high yields in the Solana ecosystem. Traders are piling into Bonk, boosting its price by triple digits in the last 24 hours. And this is the Bonk token in just the last couple of days, where you can see it appearing on this chart. It went up, at one point it went up 6,978%, which is just insane. You would have seen $100 turning into nearly $7,000. Don't go and buy that right now, guys, because typically when you see huge booms like that, there's usually a huge bust afterwards. Stay away from it. In my opinion, obviously you can go and do what you want. It's your money. It's just what I wouldn't do right now. Now, the other day I mentioned Chris Bernesk in my last video and what he was basically saying about Solana. He used to be one of the head honchos at ARK Invest, which is one of the major crypto trading firms. He's now pointing out how interesting it is that when you get to the bottom of the market and everyone is on YouTube videos commenting, and everyone's on Twitter telling you that it's going to go to zero, that typically means that we have the market bottom. Now, what we are seeing in Bitcoin, etc., is people telling us that it's probably going to go lower. We could well have seen the bottom in Bitcoin, but we will wait to see whether or not that's true. And this is a great reason to get involved in my Telegram group, which is linked down below in the description, guys, because we have been having some heated discussions in there about where the bottom of the market might be, as well as discussing sentiment and how it affects decision making within trading. Now, I also want to draw your attention across to you today. Solana's daily active user base soars 50% in January, obviously to do with the Bonk token. There's other things going on within the ecosystem. As I've mentioned, Solana was heavily oversold due to the FTX rumors and news, and that basically pushed it down to a point at which it was actually worth less than it actually should have been. So all markets pretty much are always moving from price, like an overprice, to an underprice. Okay, when it's in an underprice zone, that's when we effectively want to be buying. When it's an overpriced zone, that's when we want to be selling. Somewhere in the middle is where its actual true value lies, and that's obviously fluctuating as things change. But particularly with crypto, which is a market completely driven by the users within it, this is basically how the price is derived. Now, Solana's a layer 1 blockchain, as is Ethereum, and Solana has already been considered in the past to be an Ethereum killer, and many people viewed it as potentially a superior model. It's extremely fast, it's extremely cheap, and obviously the pressure put on it by FTX recently has caused it to be worth less, far less in fact than its actual value. And that has meant that a very solid crypto project has been available at a massive discount. And that's when you need to be getting into cryptos. When people who are probably uneducated in the space are telling you that something is going to go to zero, that's actually when you want to be buying it, guys. And it can be difficult to do that, I understand, but ignoring the sentiment in the market is what I was talking about last Saturday on that video that I made about Solana. And if you took action then congratulations, because you have just made yourself 70% in basically a week. So guys, let's take a look at the Solana chart and work out whether or not we want to be buying into Solana right now. Now, if you're new to crypto, what you'll probably tend to do, and this is nothing against you, is when the markets start to ramp towards the upside, you tend to get in because you're looking at the ton of top movers, etc., on CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, etc. And the problem with doing that is you do tend to get a kind of a reverse move, because something will shoot up in price from a price of undervalued to a price of potentially overvalued, and then you can see it come crashing down. Now, I don't think the Solana right now is going to come crashing towards the downside. It all hangs in the balance with what's happening with Bitcoin as well as the US dollar, and we'll take a look at that in just a moment. But what we're looking at right now with Solana is very interesting indeed, because what we can see is this zone through here. Now, typically when we get kind of like a news event or some sort of liquidity spike towards one direction like this, it does tend to mean that we are going to get pushed back in the other direction. But we have seen a huge bit of growth in Solana recently, and the people who were buying Solana down here will start to take profits in this zone, which is why it's starting to hit a bit of a stumbling block. Now what we might see is a bit of a continuation, and potentially if we're able to break towards the upper side, so that's a price above $14.6, and see a bounce back into this zone and a push, this is a potentially great buying opportunity. But I would wait for a bit of consolidation first to check that we're not going to come back down and revisit this area down here. But ultimately, this is a long-term play for me, because you've got Solana currently sat down at this red line, guys, and the all-time high is from here, 1,872%. So if you put in $100, you'd end up with $1,800 if it got to this point. And obviously you can do the maths, you can, in the shorter term, who knows, guys? This is what crypto's about. If you're looking to just buy on spot and make money in the bear markets, picking up cheap coins right now is probably a good opportunity, because if they do fall towards the downside, maybe you're going to be down at some point 50, maybe even 60%. But the upside potential is absolutely insane. As long as you don't sell at those lower points and you don't realize those gains, and you're not using money that you can't afford to lose, then you've got healthy upside potential against limited downside risk. Would you risk $100 to make $1,800? Well, yes, I would. But obviously, guys, that is not financial advice. Go away and do your own research. And if you buy it and it drops, don't come running to me complaining, because it's up to you to figure out whether or not you're happy with the risk. And I've also told you this is a long-term play. We're looking to take gains out 2 years potentially down the line, rather than in the next week or two where no one's really sure exactly where it's going to go. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, Bitcoin basically controls the market. Bitcoin could well have put in a bottom here, and this does look like a sort of solid bottom pattern, to be honest, with Bitcoin. As long as Bitcoin is able to break beyond these levels, then I effectively think that this could well signal the end of the bear market for crypto. Now, obviously, who knows exactly whether it's going to come, because we've got lots of things that are potentially happening in the world right now, with interest rates from the US still pushing higher. We've seen the US dollar continue to rally, but Bitcoin crypto has seen an absolutely punishing year, and we could be about to see some boring sideways trickle along action, which would be well in line with the Wall Street cheat sheet, which I've talked about in the past, where you can see different emotions at different points of the market. Consider how you're feeling and how that might play into the real market sentiment and where we actually might be on this Wall Street cheat sheet. But in my opinion, Bitcoin is going to start rallying this year, and then we're going to see new highs in Bitcoin pushing potentially into 2024. Could be wrong, who knows? It's just speculation, it's the game of speculation. But look at the past. Every time we get down, we have these big spikes, we have a kind of a rumble along, and then we have a big dip. This potentially is the equivalent of the FTX drama here, and then look what happens following that. Now, I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going to completely do that, but it would make sense that logically that would happen eventually down the line. But Bitcoin probably isn't where you're going to make your money, guys, because it's already seen huge pushes in its market value. Looking into things like Solana, you now have a fantastic opportunity to buy what was previously a top 10 cryptocurrency for what was the other day $10, now $13. The top price of that was around $270 just a year ago. Now the opportunity presents itself again. Obviously, if FTX goes and unloads a ton of Solana into the market, then potentially who knows what's going to happen. But realistically, it doesn't make sense that they do that, because Solana is worth much more money and they know that. So potentially they're going to hold on and see what happens in that space. Also, what I'm doing right now, is opposed to lumping tons of cash into crypto, I'm actually using leverage over on Fairdesk, which is linked down below in the description. Here you can get up to a $600 bonus. Now, what is important about using leverage? Obviously there is risk involved, but for example with Solana, instead of having to put in like $10,000 into something like Solana at the bottom, which is obviously a risky bet, last week I put in $1,000, I did a 10x on that, and that meant that I was actually using $1,000 to trade with rather than just my $100. Obviously, if we'd seen a 10% drop, I would have lost everything. That's the risk of trading. But instead, we saw 70%. And instead of seeing 70%, I saw 700% on that $1,000. Instead of seeing 70% on my original $1,000, which would have been $700, I was able to make $7,000 by using leverage. Now, obviously, guys, only for experienced traders, of course. Now, obviously, guys, that's only for experienced traders, and I like using Fairdesk because the fees are super low and the spreads, etc., are really small as well. Now, other things that they have going on is you can join copy trading, which means you can basically copy experienced traders like myself. And today I'm going to get set up on this so you can follow my trades automatically just every time I click a button over on Fairdesk. So guys, if you want to get involved in that, make sure you're heading over to Fairdesk, linked over in the description. You're also going to get up to a $600 bonus for signing up today. Hope you enjoyed it, guys, and make sure you smash that like button. As well as that, if you're new to the channel, then subscribe and get into my Telegram group, which is linked down below in the description.